I thanks to Principal Kusum Jaju Madam, JNS College, Jalpur for to organize this session. Welcome to Dr. R.C. Dikshit, Professor and Head and Administrative Officer of the Holkar Science College. He will chair this session. And heartily welcome to Professor Surjit Mukherjee as a resource person of today's session. Now, I invite to Ravi Paliwal to introduce the speaker and resource person, Dr. Professor Surjit. Over
Thank you,
to
sir.
Ravi.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Uh, Welcome to all participants. In this participating in the second session of the webinar. Before this session, two lectures based on magnetism and nanotechnology has been delivered. Now it is time to listen the lecture on nuclear field related topics. The talk will be delivered by eminent personality from this field, Professor Surjit Mukherjee. Eminent words is more appropriate for him because he published 217 research paper in his credit, and he has 36 years of experience in academic and research field. Also, he has countless citation in his credit. At present, he is head of the department and in the Maharaja Sayaji University, Baroda. Without losing time, now it is over to Surjit Mukherjee.
So, thank you, Paliwal.
Thank you. Okay,
Nice,
okay. Sir, pleasure, sir. Pleasure.
nice word for me. And now I take your permission to share my screen for the talk, I think.
No, okay, sir. Pleasure to all us.
Thank you. Just a moment.
Okay, okay. No problem.
Chotu, Babu, এক মিনিট। এটা শেয়ার স্ক্রিন করতে হবে এটাকে। হ্যাঁ। Okay. Can you see the screen?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. So, just a moment. So this is, I think everybody can see this.
Yes, yes.
Okay. So first of all, I wish good afternoon to everyone, and I thank the organizers, Paliwal Saab, for this grand seminar. And to begin with, let me first tell you a very important thing is that I began my career from Madhya Pradesh way back in 1990 as a lecturer in Vikram University, Ujjain, and from there on, I did my whatever I could achieve during my lifetime for last so many years, and I did my PhD from Banaras Hindu University. So now I am the head of the department in this university situated in Baroda. So the today's topic, as I said, is introduction to nuclear science and its application. It is, I will more emphasize on the applications part of the nuclear science, why we want to study nuclear science and what are the specific. So I will be very specific about the energy part of the nuclear science, and I will address the applications of nuclear science and what are the gathering. So I think the senior people can bear with me for that. So to begin with, let me first wish all of you a very, and I will gathering. So I think now we are going. So to begin with, let me live fighting the coronavirus all over the world. So we have to bear with this. We have to wash frequently our hands. We have to cover our face. And on the market, when we go out, we see a lot of people without any mask. Or so we have to ignore them. We have to go away from them. We have to cover our mask with mask. So this is very important nowadays. For last and maybe in future also, maybe another few months we have to do this practice. So I think we all pray to the God that we once again see a happy world free of any virus or any pandemic. So that is the thing we wish, and we should all wish. So now I begin with my talk. Now I ask you a question to the students I address. What do you think when you hear the word nuclear? So maybe all of us, most of us will say that when we talk about nuclear science or nuclear physics, we will see something like this, that there will be a large explosion with mushroom like clouds coming out, and there is a huge devastation, huge destruction everywhere around that in a diameter of several kilometers. So this is our perception of nuclear science. But the thing is that this is just only if one phase or one dark phase of our nuclear studies. What is more important is the other phase, that is the brighter side of the nuclear study, that is more important and more specific in our life. And this is very important nowadays. Once we have to do this practice, so we say that what are the very specific of any virus or any pandemic that is that we are used. We should emphasize on this. So to the students, I address application in when we talk about medicine, diagnostic tools, treatments, and so on and so forth. Like we see that nowadays, this treatment of cancer and other tumors, etc., they are mostly done by specific in our life, and therapy or any other type of radiology generation understanding of like we see that physics studies. So I will more emphasize on the energy generation part of the nuclear physics study, which is very important. And in future, in upcoming energy generation, which is a non-conventional type of energy, conventional type of energy will soon get over in another 50 years or so. So non-conventional energy source like solar energy, like wind energy, and so on, and nuclear energy also is a part of that non-conventional source of energy. So that is very important in our life in the future, maybe after 50 years from now. Maybe we will not live, but our students will be there to witness this. So I will more emphasize on the energy generation, and if time permits, I will say something about the astrophysical phenomena of this nuclear physics study. So what is more important is why we want to study nuclear physics. For our younger spectators, I will wish to say that nuclear physics study in India is very limited to a very specific places in our country. One of the specific places, the Baroda city, our university. We have a nuclear physics course in post graduation. Similarly, there are large number of like Delhi University, Chandigarh University, Aligarh University, Banaras Hindu University, and so on and so forth. There are very few numbers of nuclear physics research centers, which is situated in Delhi, Bombay, Kolkata, and in Bombay we have BARC, Bhabha Atomic Research Centers, and so on. So if you go to the Google site, and you can find out so few number of nuclear physics studies are going on. So why we want to study nuclear physics? So we want to study nuclear physics to understand the forces that is acting within the nucleus or within outside the nucleus. And so this is called the nucleon force. From now on, why we say nucleon means the protons and neutrons within the nucleus. Okay. So now we know that nuclear force is there present inside the nucleus, and the nuclear potential is generated through those nuclear force. And why it is important? It is important because why these protons and neutrons are kept within the nucleus, that we have to understand. And if it goes out from that nucleus, then what happens? And how it goes out from this nucleus. So nuclear deformation and excitations are very important to study. Then we frame in nuclear models because we don't know exactly what is the form of nuclear potential that we call the strong force due to the strong force nuclear. So we have to frame nuclear models. Whenever things are not very clear to us, we expect some models in any field of research. So we have to use nuclear models for understanding our nucleus and how the nucleus can be studied by giving it large energy, large spin, and light isospin. What is isospin? Isospin is it differentiates between the charged and uncharged particles inside the nucleus, like protons and neutrons. Okay, so nuclear reactions is a very important thing. Nuclear astrophysics, and then we have a neutrinology double beta decay. This is a very important research topic of nuclear physics, and it is related to our astrophysics and our universe. So if we understand this process, double beta decay, then we can understand what is going on in the universe or in the stars or in the planets and so on and so forth. So now, as I said, that I will put more emphasis on nuclear energy part. So what is going on in the present and in the future about the nuclear energy part is that people are working on, people are doing research on several systems of nuclear reactors. Reactor is a device which can produce peaceful nuclear energy. Okay, so one of the very important field of research is the accelerator driven subcritical system. It is a type of nuclear reactor which will in the future will be the very common to our nuclear energy. Then we have fast reactor technique. Then we have compact high energy reactors. Then we have advanced heavy water reactors. So all these devices will be very, very much useful for the production of nuclear energy in future. Then we have to study the nuclear astrophysics, that is the origin, how the origin of chemical elements can take place, then energy generation of the stars, how it takes place, then how the stellar evolution, the stars, how the formation of stars, planets, etc. took place, and then there are stellar explosions and so on. So all these things are very important in our life in the study of nuclear physics. Now, if I say that two different collisions at different phase of time has changed our entire perception of nuclear or in the physical studies. One is on your left side, we have very well known picture on the scientist. You know his name very well. And that produced the Newton's law of gravity. And it entire perspective of our physics study. And we have got the laws of nuclear gravitational laws. Then from that gravitational law, we have come to the theory of relativity and the gravitational theory of relativity. So all these from those gravitational laws. Then after a few decades, we got the giant collider. In this machine, on your right side of the screen, we see that it's a huge machine which is somewhere
Sir,
in the which is.
Sir, I want to interrupt you. Sir,
Yeah.
screen is way to study nuclear physics is showing here. No machine is showing here, sir. So please check it.
Acha.
Yes, sir.
It is not showing here?
No, sir. Only ways of study nuclear physics slide is showing here.
Right. Okay. What happened?
Sir, minimize
can't
the
see this now?
presentation and again maximize the presentation. It will okay. Then.
Now can you see this? Now can you see this?
No, sir. Again.
Hello?
No, sir. Same slide is showing here.
Now you can't see.
No, sir. Yes, sir. Now we can able to see this.
Okay, maybe some internet problem may be there.
Okay, sir.
So, so I will go back to the last slide, or shall I continue from this? Hello,
Yes, sir.
hello. Shall I continue from this?
Yes, sir. You can.
Okay. So what I was saying that these pictures on left side and right side has changed the entire perspective of our physical phenomena studies. Hello. Whenever you, hello.
Yes, sir.
Okay. If you don't see, please interrupt me. Okay.
Okay.
Otherwise,
Okay, sir.
I don't know what is going on.
Okay,
So
sir.
on the left side, we see a picture. Okay. Left side, we see a picture. Okay. Which says that, which is a very important thing. Everybody knows that if apple falling on the head of the Newton, and he gave the laws of gravitation. And from that laws of gravitation, we can explain many phenomena in the universe, like theory of relativity, gravitational theory of relativity, and so on and so forth. Similarly, on your right side, we see a very huge machine which is in near Switzerland, which is encompassing three countries.
सर आवाज नहीं आ रही रवि सर
Yes, sir.
Sound problem is there, sir.
हाँ साउंड साउंड नहीं आ रहा सर
So Mukherjee, please check your internet connectivity. There is no voice, no sound. Can you hear me, Dr. Mukherjee?
There is some network error.
रवि सर
Yes, sir.
सर को बोले कि वापस से रिज्वाइन कर ले इसी लिंक से
सर ने शायद लेफ्ट कर दिए हैं सर.
हाँ तो वो शायद इसी लिंक से रिज्वाइन कर ले
ओके ओके.
प्रॉब्लम है आई थिंक सब इंटरनेट में उसका.
यस सर.
यस सर प्लीज रिज्वाइन
हाँ जी कर लिया ज्वाइन मैंने. जस्ट इंटरनेट बंद हो गया था.
जी
Okay, sir.
यस
सर प्लीज शेयर द स्क्रीन.
हाँ अभी दिखाई दे रहा.
यस सर.
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay. Okay, now again I start. Sorry for this interruption. So there was some problem with the doctor. Hello.
Yes, yes.
So this changes the entire mood of the speaker. So this chart shows in the prehistoric time how people used to study all the phenomena of the universe. There are 5 things that we all know, that Agni, Prithvi, Jal, Vayu, and the 5th element we said that Akash. So all these 4 elements plus the 5th element, now what we call is the ether or the material of heavens, that and or the astrophysicists, people, cosmologists, they say dark matter. So the study of dark matter is very important in that term. So from the Adi Kal we see all these things, and we study all these things starting from Plato and Aristotle and so on. So it is last 1000 years we are studying all these things. But so what is important is how the atomic and nuclear sizes are important for studying of this nuclear energy. So if I see on your left side, we see that it is 2.2 nanometer or 2 lakh Fermi. Okay. So 1 Fermi is equal to 10 to the power minus 15 meter. And within this you can see the nucleus which is only 4.8 Fermi. So you can imagine how different is these two numbers. And within the nucleus we have 1.6 Fermi, one single neutron. Okay, so within this nucleus we have 1.6 Fermi size, and these neutrons or protons are within this nucleus. We have the quarks. Okay, so these quarks are held together with gluons, and so whoever is interested, they can go through the particle physics course and they can study what is gluon and so on. So we have 3 quarks for proton and 3 quarks for neutron, and they are held together with gluons, which is shown by the spring like structure, which is the exchange particle of this. Okay, and they are held within the distance of 1.6 Fermi, which is a very, very small distance. Now, once we want to study how this nuclear physics proceeds, so we have to understand this picture. It shows a valley. Have you seen a sports biker who goes from the valley, from the deep depth to the topmost, and then he returns back? This is kind of sports. So it is similar like this. On your left side, we have more protons. On your right side, we have more neutrons. If you keep on adding in the nucleus more and more protons, you will reach at some point to this point, this edge of this, and this is called the drip line, and then you cannot proceed further. It is becomes so unstable due to the electromagnetic or Coulomb force. So it comes back. When it comes back, it emits beta particle, which we call as beta decay, and it reaches at the bottom level, which is the most stable. Similarly, if you keep on adding neutrons, you will reach at some point which is not very clear to us. This drip line or whatever this line is not very clear on this side. So we have to explore that more and more. You keep on neutrons until it comes back to the valley. So in this way, we can keep on increasing and increasing, and we reach at the top of this mountain, which is the mountain showing the super heavy elements. So our aim is to reach this super heavy nucleus or super heavy elements, which is our ultimate goal on the way of our producing nuclear energy. So the nucleus is a unique particle, a unique subatomic particle, and in this nucleus we have a large number of nucleons which are held together by 4 forces. 3 of the forces we can measure easily. The 4th force, that is the gravitational force, we cannot measure because it's so small in strength as compared to the 3 forces that we cannot measure that. So the standard model that we heard of this name is only explaining the unification of 3 forces. Okay, that is the electromagnetic force, the weak force, and the nuclear force or the strong force. Okay, so it's large, but and if you talk about the atom, within this nucleus and outside the nucleus is a huge vacuum side. Okay, so it's a large number of nucleons which is constituted within a very small size of the thing. So we have to, in order to understand this, we have to study the many body problem. Okay, and these can be out of phase, all these particles, or it can be in phase. Out of phase means when as you study the optics, okay, they are going with the running with the, all the particles are associated with the waves. So if I want to, I cannot go into very detail, but out of phase means all the waves are out of phase and these particles are oscillating in different phases. Okay, so we have to study it in a very complicated way. And analogy to this is that if you have a, आपने देखा होगा कि भेड़ कैसे चलते हैं, भेड़ एक चाल में चलते हैं. Okay, if one of the sheep goes out, it again comes back. Okay, so in this way we have to explore the things which are out of phase, then we bring it back to the in phase. So how do we study the nuclear physics? For that, as I said, nuclear models are very important. And how do we explain these nuclear models? With the help of quantum mechanics. Okay, the quantum mechanics is the basic governing theory of the nuclear physics, and the study of quantum mechanics is basically for the subatomic particles and subnuclear particles. Okay, so the forces are complicated. Then we keep on adding different theories in the quantum mechanics to explain other phenomena. The forces are complicated and cannot be written down explicitly. It is very complicated theory. Many body problem has to be understood very clearly, that otherwise you cannot devise or design a nuclear model. Okay, and in the absence of any model, it is very difficult to give a comprehensive nuclear theory. So a model is very important for nuclear physics study. Like in the case of basically we are studying in our undergraduation and graduation level, we study the shell model, then we have the liquid drop model, and so on. All these models we are devising by explaining or by assuming certain type of potential. Okay, so now in order to study the nuclear physics, we require that one particle should be interacting with another particle, and within this we have several kind of repulsive force like Coulomb force. So in order to overcome this Coulomb force, we need some machine which can give energy to these particles, and these machines can energize the particle, and the particle can go and interact with another particle, and we study the nuclear physics, the phenomena of nuclear physics like nuclear reactions and so on. So accelerators are those machines which are required to give energy to these small particles. Okay. Now I don't want to go into details how this, just I will show this slide. It all started in 1927 when we had the 50 keV, the smallest energy accelerator, so-called accelerator, which is the potentium ion beam. And over the years, now since 2012, we have the Large Hadron Collider at CERN. CERN is situated in Geneva, Switzerland. And we have produced huge energy of protons, which is 7 TeV, tera electron volt. Okay. So these, at this high energy, we could understand the basic phenomena of formation of universe, like the electroweak force, which got the Nobel Prize for the scientist who has explained that. And then we could explain the standard model, which includes the strong force also. So the standard model, to understand this, we need such kind of high energy machine. Okay. So we are at this stage up till now, and we are producing more and more, trying to produce more and more high energy so that we can go beyond the standard model. That is to include the gravitational energy. So it is a challenge for all nuclear and particle physicists to reach at that level. Okay. So the nuclear physics, as I said, it has several aspects to be studied, starting from the on the both sides of the scales. Okay, our scale, atomic scale, is 10 to the power minus 8 centimeters. We go on the top, we say nucleus, and we go reach up to quark, gluon, plasma. Okay, this in order to study. Now theoreticians have given so similar type of theories to understand and explain the quark, gluon, plasma. Experimentalists are also struggling to reach at this level of this dimension. On the other side, we have atoms, and then sun and supernova, as you all know about all this. So this scale is very important on either side of the atomic scale. So that is the nuclear physicists are investigating nuclear matter at all scales, starting from subatomic particles to the supernova scale. Okay. So the research is going on, and people are trying to evolve several theories to explain different phenomena. Again, this is also similar picture, which starts from the nucleus, which is a deformed type of nucleus. And it's if you go to this, you see is their energy and degrees of freedom. So you keep on increasing energy, starting from this energy, which is relative to the neutron mass. So corresponding to this, if you keep on increasing, at some point you will reach at this baryons. Baryons are nothing but protons and neutrons, and they are joined together by the exchange particle called pi meson. Pi meson is the exchange particle. When pi meson comes out, you get neutron from proton and vice versa. Then if you keep on increasing energy to 940 neutron masses, Okay, then you reach at this level where you can study the quarks. Okay, quarks inside the protons and neutrons. And if you keep on increasing, you can go to at the level where you can see independent quarks. Till now, we don't know the independent whether quarks it can involve in independently or not. Okay, but this we have to yet to reach. So we need accelerators at energy more than 940 neutron mass. Okay, that is E is equal to mc square. You convert 940 into energy, you will get huge amount of energy. On this right side, you see that nucleons have a spin of specific nature, which is called the fermions. Okay, protons and neutrons are fermions, which obeys the Fermi-Dirac statistics. And within this nucleus, we have quarks and gluons, and they also have the spin as half. And similarly, a bare quark, if it is at all existing, it also has certain spin. Okay, which is below the 0.1 Fermi mark. Now, for our student, to address our student, we know that radioactivity we have studied since last so many years in our school days also. We say that there are three basic radioactive particles: alpha particle, beta, and gamma. And the alpha particle means the emission of helium nucleus, beta is emission of an electron or a positron, and gamma emission is the emission of electromagnetic radiation. Gamma rays are the electromagnetic radiation. So in the alpha decay, we have produced the alpha particle, as you can see this in animation. Alpha particle is emitted from the nucleus. Now a question can come out: how come a alpha particle is within the nucleus? There cannot be any alpha particle. It is only protons and neutrons. Then how is alpha particle is coming out? So this question you should pose all the students. So this is a very interesting thing. So if I give you one problem that you calculate how much energy is required that alpha particle is within the nucleus. Okay, that problem you must solve, all this nuclear physicists. Okay, this is the alpha decay. Okay, so as this example is so polonium nucleus, it decays with alpha particle and you get a stable nucleus, lead. Okay, and similarly here also. Then we have the next thing is the beta decay. Beta decay, we all know that one neutron inside the nucleus, it converts into proton and it emits one new electron and a neutrino. Okay, and this is pictorially it is shown here. And these electrons are not the same electron as we have observed in the atoms. Okay, it is called the beta particle. And if you study the energy spectrum of the beta particle, it looks like this. It is continuous or Maxwellian type of beta particle spectrum with a maximum at some point, which is called the end point energy, and a specific maximum here also in the number of beta particles emitted. So this is a typical beta spectrum that we all observe while studying the beta decay. And there are three types of beta decay. We all know beta plus emission, beta minus emission, and there's electron capture. Why electron capture is a beta decay, you must find out. Then we have the gamma decay. When there is not sufficient energy within the nucleus, we have the excitation energy released from the nucleus or atom through the gamma decay. So gamma decay is a nuclear phenomenon, which these gammas are emitted only from the nucleus. Okay, X-ray is a atomic phenomenon. Okay, so a excited nucleus which cannot further emit any particle can emit gamma ray and it gets de-excited, and this is shown in this equation. So all these three events are very important on the way to study the nuclear physics. And you see that we have a nuclear radioactive decay, and this nuclear radioactive decay follows a few laws. Okay, that is the inverse square law, the scattering, absorption, all these are observed by the nuclear radioactive decay. Inverse square law, you know about that. And all these nuclear decay can be detected and studied by several instruments, starting from the Geiger-Muller counter to nuclear scintillation detectors and semiconductor detectors. All these detectors are required to study all these activities. All the nuclear physicists do is, experimental nuclear physicists do is to study all these events by using some tool or some technology for detection of these events, nuclear events. Now, with this background, I will come to the very interesting part, that is the nuclear physics, what is the application, and I will take only one or two applications. As I said, it's the nuclear energy, which is very important. Cannot go into details of all the nuclear physics applications. So I will come to the power generation or nuclear energy generation. There are two possible ways of nuclear power generation, as you all know from your graduation course, that we have nuclear fission and nuclear fusion. Okay, fission is the splitting of heavy atoms to smaller ones. Like here you see a uranium nucleus, it splits into two parts and then emitting two or three neutrons, and huge amount of energy is liberated in this way. Okay, similarly, a fusion is a combination fusion of two small light particles. And if you want to study in more details, I can give you two different lectures for this, for hours. So, so this fusion, nuclear fusion, will also emit huge amount of energy, more or larger than the nuclear fusion. So nuclear fusion is the phenomena that is going on in the astrophysical aspects, and nuclear fission is the event going on in our reactors. Okay. So what are the four type of forces that control these two nuclear events? These are the fundamental interactions. That is the gravitational interaction that is governing our all our cosmological particles. Then we have electromagnetic events, electromagnetic force. Then we have the weak force, which is the beta decay. Beta decay is governed by the weak interaction. Then we have the strong interaction, which is our quark, gluon, plasma, and so on and so forth. All these four interactions are very present within the nucleus. Okay. Now, how do we study with time all these things? So we search for different experimental data to understand these nuclear forces. Our main aim is to understand all these nuclear forces, all these four forces. So we are in search of nuclear data and to create our own nuclear data. So this nuclear data is again a very interesting sector of nuclear research. If you want to do PhD in nuclear physics, this nuclear data is a very interesting topic. So we process this data and then we analyze this data using some packages. Then we understand and the analysis this, and it requires lot of time, sources, and human power and experience. So if you see that we need, as I said, we need accelerators. So we have several accelerators, three accelerators very importantly in three parts of our country. Delhi, New Delhi, we have this Inter-University Accelerator Center. Then we have a heavy ion accelerator facility in BRC, PIFR, Mumbai. Then we have a variable energy cyclotron in Kolkata. Then nuclear physics for increasing green energy demand. This is a very safe type of energy that we are requiring for this. If we see the worldwide scenario of this nuclear physics, nuclear energy, we can see that the number of reactors shown with the blue lines and the electric capacity, electric production capacity with the red lines. You see that Canada, China, France, Japan, so many countries are way behind, way above, way ahead of her. United States is the leader of in this production of number of nuclear reactors and energy capacity. Our country is still way behind. We have large number of reactors, but the production is quite small in that way. So despite the number of reactors across the globe, the contribution to the nuclear energy is only 3% of the total energy that we are in requirement. So total, there are some 451 reactors worldwide. Maybe it is old number. It has increased till by now. So this is another country-wise energy share in total production of energy. So our India. So I'm sorry, this arrow has gone bad. So this is our class. So here we have the nuclear percentage share, which is less than 5% and so. And you can see other countries, they are way ahead of us. France is the leader in this nuclear energy production, with more than 70% of total energy share, and other countries are following. Now, if I have 1 ton of uranium, how much energy, how this scenario, we can produce in 1 ton of uranium 238, which is enriched to 3.5%. We can produce in 3 years in a power reactor so much power. Okay, kilowatt of thorium, kilowatt hour power of thorium. So huge amount of power is generated from 1 ton of uranium. So, but uranium 238 is a very large amount in our country. Where is I will show you that. Okay, and this is another process. While producing nuclear energy, we have produced a large amount of nuclear waste. So this is another problem that we are. So how to ultimate waste disposal, nuclear waste disposal. So this cycle is very important to understand, that we have natural uranium which can be used to produce in the reactor the energy, and on this way we produce lot of nuclear waste. We have to displace or dispose this nuclear waste. So so this cycle keeps on going in this way. Okay. And we have the front end sector and reactor sector and back end sector. Okay, so all these sectors, this nuclear fuel cycle is divided into 3 sectors. Okay, so we have to think about this, how to take care of this nuclear waste, and the best way is to produce this thorium based nuclear energy. And this is another way to take care of this nuclear waste disposal. This is called the accelerator driven subcritical system. This type of phenomena has been technology has been developed in Europe, and for that we need a very high intensity proton accelerator. This proton beam can be falling on some target, special target, some alloy target of very heavy element, and this can produce a huge number of spallation reaction. What is spallation reaction? You can go through the theory, and from there we can produce large number of neutrons, and these neutrons are then produce nuclear energy, and this nuclear energy, part of this, it goes again to the accelerator, and this cycle is called, and this is what you call the feedback channel. Feedback is very important in this, and more of the part is going to the grid to produce the electricity. Now the transfusion, this waste, nuclear waste produced, it carries large number of nuclear waste which is having very high, large value of half-life. So it keeps on for years together. So we have to take care of that nuclear energy, and with this, using this machine, we can produce this long-lived radioactive waste to the short-lived radioactive waste. So it decays, and we get rid of this nuclear waste. As I said, that our reserve of thorium is 846.5 tons of. So India is leading in the reserve of thorium. Other countries are way behind. So if we can use this thorium for the production of nuclear power, then we will be the leader of the nuclear power in the world. And this is a machine which is set up in our Europe, and in our Gandhinagar is a place where we have the Institute of Plasma Research, where we have this machine called the ITER machine, a replica of this, which can be used for the production of nuclear fusion, nuclear energy through the fusion phenomena. And it requires a large number of materials to construct this. And the main thing is the toroidal and colloidal field coils. These are used for the magnetic field, high magnetic field. Those who are working in the plasma physics, they may know about this toroidal coil and colloidal coil. And these are made of certain very specific materials. So our aim is to study these materials of reactors, the fusion reactors and fission reactors. Important reactor materials is very important. Is my next point. So our fuel materials are thorium and uranium. Our reactor structural materials by which these materials we construct these reactors, tin and niobium are the very important. Then we have more structural materials as given here. So our aim is to study all these reactor materials and produce lot of nuclear data. And this is how we see, how we study our nuclear reactions. If I study the nuclear reaction, how to do that? We produce protons, as I said before, that proton is the beam which can be produced by a machine. We produce proton beam by some machine, and this is a very small energy. Of course, this is just one example I'm giving you. And then from this proton, we can produce neutrons. Again, one example I'm giving you. And these neutrons can create a lot of nuclear reactions in these materials. And these nuclear reactions has to be studied before the construction of any reactors. Okay. So this is a spectrum which shows that what kind of neutrons are produced through these reactions, this lithium PN reaction. So we have a large number of spectrum of neutrons that has been produced, and our aim is to at this point, the peak, the highest energy neutron that are produced, neutron energy, and these neutrons can be analytically separated out, and we can study the reactions at this energy. So we have produced several papers, in fact, on studying these materials. One of the example is the thorium material with neutron. We produce this reaction, and these reactions can be studied. The cross section can be studied by different neutron energies. Our points are there, and this has been published in a very reputed journal, Physical Review C. And we have several such publications. I don't want to go to detail of these results. What is important is to understand my views about the nuclear energy. So, so this is the concluding remarks about that, how accurately we can understand the cross-section measurement, nuclear reaction cross-section measurement, how experimentally we can study these nuclear cross-sections, so that these data can be utilized for the production of or the production of these reactors. Okay. And our future plan is to again improve our nuclear data in this way by devising such kind of technique. Now let me come briefly about the nuclear astrophysics part of. So if I say that what is so important about nuclear astrophysics, so we have to understand how the universe has been formed. So basic thing is to understand the different type of chain reactions, nuclear reactions that have followed and on the way to or the formation of all these stars and universe as planets and so on. So we have PP chain reaction, CNO cycle chain reaction, and so on. So and then these reactions can produce more and more different type of chemical elements that we still show in our radioactive table. And all these studies can lead out to the understanding of our stars and planets. Now, what is nuclear astrophysics? Nuclear astrophysics is the study of nuclear process in stars, the origin of chemical elements, which started way back in 1957 by these people. And then the nuclear astrophysics is an interdisciplinary branch of studies, has been born, and the origin of almost all stable nuclear isotopes has been explained by assuming different type of phenomena. And these are hydrogen burning, that is PP chain reaction, helium burning, alpha process, electron process, S process, R process. So many processes are there in the way of nuclear astrophysics study. And this is showing the decomposition of solar abundance. Which element is more abundant and which elements are less abundant are shown here in this picture, which is normalized to the silicon at the scale of 10 to the power 6. So all these elements, starting with the mass number of 60 way to the 200 mark, you can see very well there are peakings at some points and valleys at some points. They are available at different abundance in our universe. And all these are governed by several processes called S nucleides, R nucleides, P nucleides, and so on. So S process, R process, and P process that we study in nuclear astrophysics. So neutrons and charged particles nuclear reactions play an important role in astrophysics during the heavy ion nucleosynthesis. The large fraction of isotope heavier than iron is produced by neutron capture process, and these are the S process, slow neutron capture process, produce nuclear near the beta stability line, and R process, that is rapid neutron capture process initially. So you can see that this is the line of stability. So we have S process, which is slow process, and R process, which is rapid process. In the slow process, we have beta decay process, and in R process, we don't have the beta decay so much. So in this way, we can explain how heavy elements are produced within the our universe. And whatever abundance is there, we have some 99 elements, stable elements produced in the Earth or in the entire universe. So basic S process follows these rules. The nuclear density should be of the order of 10 to the power 6 to 10 to the power 11 centimeter cube. Neutron capture rates much lower than beta decay rates. After each neutron capture, the product nucleus decay if it is unstable, like beta decay, as I said. So it is a slow process. So it gives way to nuclear beta decay process. And process time scales in order of years. It takes years together to understand this process. Final abundance depends on the site observed. Abundance maximum is from A equal to 90, 138 to 195. Reaction paths depend on astronomical conditions. If I go to, and these are some of the reactions, the component that we produce. So it is not, I should not go into detail of this. And this is the path of our slow process, S process, the slow process. You begin with some iron process. As I said that our nuclear thermonuclear reactions stop at iron. So our S process starts from this part, and then it proceeds like this. Then it has a beta decay, it goes to this, and then again in this way, with beta decay slow process, we have different elements that are produced, which is the path of our S process, slow process. And these blacks are the stable nucleus, okay, in the way of production of heavier elements. Now the basic of R process, the neutron density should be very, very large as compared to S process. So the nuclear density should be 10 to the power 20. There it was 10 to the power 6. Okay. The short scale, time scale is very small. It is very fast process. Okay. Moves on neutron rich side of the valley of stability. It is on the neutron rich side, that is R processes are more predominating. As if you recollect that valley structure I said, that is the neutron rich side and then proton rich side. So R process takes place on the neutron rich side, on the right side of that valley. Okay. Then stable nuclides are also reached through beta decay chains, but that is rarity. And final abundance of all the very heavy elements can be produced by this process of rapid process. Okay. So I think that is all about what I want to say. Thanks for the attention. And I am ready to answer any query or any specific questions if you have. Thank you so much.
There are some questions.
Yes.
Sir, how to explain why neutrino is released with beta emissions, and sometimes neutrino is also found associated with the beta decay?
Okay. This as I let me go back to that slide. As I said, there are 3 types of beta decay. Okay. As you see here, there are 3 types of beta decay, as I said. One is the beta minus emission, one is beta plus emission, and one is the electron capture. So these 2 important things are beta minus emission and beta plus emission. If you see that in this case, we have beta minus particle accompanied with a anti-neutrino. Okay, this is anti-neutrino. So this phenomena, how this phenomena takes place, if you study the conservation laws, okay. So conservation law will allow beta minus particle emission only with antineutrinos. So beta minus, if you find, it is always in collaboration with the antineutrinos. Similarly, if you have a positron decay is always accompanied by the emission of a neutrino. So this is all subject to the conservation laws: spin conservation, energy conservation, mass conservation. All these have to be allowed. Okay, then we can understand these processes, that how electron and antineutrino are correlated and how positron and neutrino are correlated. They are always emitted in pairs. Okay, so this antineutrino and neutrino phenomena emission can be explained by the conservation laws. Okay. That I said, the energy conservation, the spin conservation, and the mass conservation. Of course, mass of the antineutrino and neutrino is very, very small. It is not zero. It is very small because of the fact that there are neutrino oscillations. This is a very important phenomena that we can study, neutrino oscillation. That says that neutrino has also some very small amount of mass. Okay. So this all can be understood by the explanation of conservation laws.
Sir, what is the nature of weak nuclear force, and what is the source of the force?
This weak nuclear force, beta decay, is the main source of weak force, and it is a nuclear phenomena. So all the beta decay phenomena, all these three, they are governed by weak interaction. Okay. So, and this is a weak interaction, as I said, is weak. If you measure the strength of all the four interactions, the weakest is the gravitational interaction in terms of nucleus, of course. Then we have the weak interaction, then we have the electromagnetic interaction, and then we have the strong interaction. So weak interaction can be explained only by the phenomena of beta decay. Okay. So beta decay is the source of weak interaction.
Thank you, sir. Now,
any other question? Yes.
Sir, I would like to invite Dr. B.G. Srivastava, sir.
Okay.
सर आरसी दीक्षित सर भी अपने साथ जुड़ गए हैं.
Yes, sir.
हाँ,
Yes. Okay.
Sir,
Dr. B.D. Srivastava.
हाँ जी.
Just sound there. Okay, fine.
सर मैं पीके दुबे सर का वीडियो ऑन कराइए.
हाँ, कर दिया.
थैंक यू सर.
हाँ जी. और सुनाइए.
It was.
Thank you so much.
Now I invite Dr. R.C. Dikshit, sir.
Yes, sir.
Dikshit, sir, can you hear me?
Yeah. Pakka. Should I start?
Sir. Yes, sir.
Good evening, everyone. First of all, please all pardon me not to join initially because of some bandwidth problem at college.
No problem. No problem.
After 5, then I came here from my house. I again joined it, and I have heard some lecture of Dr. Mukherjee on nuclear physics. Some questions I have heard about beta decay and weak interaction and strong interaction and whatever. I think the lecture given by Mukherjee will be beneficial to all participants because I have not heard as much so that I can comment on that, but it will be or it should be useful to all participants, that I hope. Dr. P.K. Dubey,
यस सर.
जो IAPT को जो है बिल्कुल यहाँ लाइव रखे हुए हैं, मैं उनको
very nice.
धन्यवाद देता हूँ. डॉक्टर B.D. श्रीवास्तव साहब को भी धन्यवाद देता हूँ, और मेरा स्टूडेंट डॉक्टर रवि राठौर, उसको भी धन्यवाद देता हूँ कि उसने ही आज ये कार्यक्रम आयोजित किया है. आज और कल 2 days का है. मैं सब्जेक्ट पे और कमेंट करता, Actually, I want to join this lecture from very beginning, and I started at 4:20, but unfortunately the bandwidth was not proper. That's why मैं miss किया हूँ.
इंडिया में हर जगह ऐसा ही है प्रॉब्लम, बैंडविड्थ का
Yes, sir.
प्रॉब्लम है ही है, तो
मैं-
इट इज
my favorite topic is nuclear physics. Ravi Rathore is
Yes,
well
sir.
known to that.
Yes, sir.
That's
very
why I
nice.
want to join it, because elementary particle physics is very important and very latest
Yeah.
physics.
Yes.
Very few people are well known about the whole elementary particle physics. That's why I again want to join it. कि अगर हमको कुछ नया मिल सकता है तो मैं जरूर मुखर्जी साहब से सीखूं.
हम
पर
फिर आ जाएंगे, हाजिर हो जाएंगे आपके सेवा में, फिर आ जाएंगे.
sir. Because elementary particle physics मुझे जो पढ़ाया था in Agra University, he was Dr. S.P. Goyal in 1985-86.
हाँ,
Then I have heard about this elementary particle physics.
yeah. Agra University was very famous that time.
Yes. I am product of that university of 1985 UC, then PhD, then
Wonderful.
PhD.
Wonderful.
Sir, so I again thanks to all. Thanks to Banerjee Sahab, Mukherjee Sahab, and Dubey Sahab, Ravi Rathore, B.D. Srivastava Sahab, and all your team and participants also. And in future, I will try to join it other lectures. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.